IBM, microscopes. That's the difference. So, I'm going to introduce our speakers. Donna Duffy, who is from Johnson Community College in Overland Park, Kansas, brings with her 17 years of executive experience in retail management. She's a full-time professor and department chair for the Entrepreneurship Association of Applied Science degree, and she has built 23 subject area certificates in entrepreneurship. She holds a BS in fashion merchandising from Wisconsin State University, and she's published numerous articles on entrepreneurship and programming, and she's very actively involved in the National Association of Community College Entrepreneurship Programs. Tina Sterling is a strategist for the field of entrepreneurship and marketing. She has worked with corporations, organizations, colleges, and universities throughout the country to market products, develop entrepreneurship courses, curriculum, and formulate best practices in delivering entrepreneurship education. In 2000, she was contracted by the Marion Kaufman Foundation, and the Kaufman Foundation is probably the premier organization for entrepreneurship education in the United States. So she works with colleges and universities to design and implement entrepreneurship programs. So without further ado, Donna and Tina, thanks for coming.
Well, I would be Donna, and she's Tina. Hi. Hi. It is a pleasure to be here tonight. It's been a great day for us today already, hasn't it, Tina?
Yeah, we're not leaving.
That is
We're going back to snow most likely. So anyway, well, I know there are a lot of students in the room. I do own a company. The foundation has me on retainer and has done that for about 7 years now. But my company has opportunities. We work with video producers that produce for Saturday Night Live and the News Hour with Jim Lair. We do some work with Cisco Systems and so forth. And I just throw that out to say entrepreneurship can be very exciting and fun, and some opportunities that come along that you might not think of. And Donna, you have an interesting background with Macy's.
I do. Well, lots of retail background, and certainly enjoyed that particular part of it, but do a lot of retail consulting still at this point, as well as thoroughly enjoy talking about entrepreneurship programs across government.
Great.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Well, this is what we want to do this evening. We're just going to give you an overview of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship education. We're going to share some statistics that the foundation has pulled together through its research to talk about what's going on in the nation within community colleges and with businesses trying to get started. We're going to give you some information on who and where entrepreneurship education is being delivered in higher education. Again, we've pulled some statistics on that. Donna's going to speak specifically to Johnson County Community College. At the foundation, we know that they have one of the more successful programs across the country and are extremely proud of what they've done there. And then we'll take what we've shared and translate that to what can happen for Santa Barbara City College. How many of you are familiar with the Kaufman Foundation? Oh, okay, not many.
Well, that's what it looks like.
Yes. That's the foundation. It's quite a massive building in Kansas City, and I do get to look out those windows once in a while. That's all the water I get to see. We're landlocked. Mr. Kaufman was a pharmaceutical rep. He was extremely good at sales. So good that when he went out and sold, he didn't get paid a salary, he didn't receive a car. The money he made depended on how good he was at selling. He was so good that he was making more money than the president of that company. After the president cut his territory 3 times, hoping that Mr. Kaufman wouldn't make more than he was making, Mr. Kaufman said, "That's enough. I'm going out and I'm starting my own company." So he manufactured drugs by night in his garage. I do not recommend you do that now. And then he would sell legal drugs. Yeah, they were legal, but I'm just saying. I just want to put a little disclaimer in there. No one from the Kaufman Foundation said go make drugs in your garage. And then he would sell them by day. He took very good care of the people that worked for him. He started his company with $3,000. When it merged with Dow, it was valued at $6 billion. He made millionaires out of the 300 people that started with his company. Everyone from the janitor to management. So that was very important to him. Pharmaceutical companies were not new. The lesson here is Mr. Kaufman found a way to be innovative with it, to take a different approach. He believed in treating people as you would want to be treated. He believed in giving back to his community and making sure that those who helped you get started were taken care of. Today, the foundation does a lot of research. We do a lot of work in higher education and curriculum development and so forth. We grant a lot of dollars to higher ed across the country. Historically, we to date granted about $12 million to community colleges to further entrepreneurship education. So that's just a little bit about what we do. It's very important to know that we're never satisfied with the status quo. We're like a big brain tank. So we're constantly looking at what's happening and how can we take it to the next level. If you look at this quote from the American Association of Community Colleges, it talks about small business being where innovation takes place. If you look at small business, we hear a lot about the Fortune 500 and so forth, but if you look at small business collectively, they create a lot of jobs. They create a lot of revenue. They do a lot in this country, and it's really what in some ways differentiates us and what drives us forward. We pulled together some of the inventions of the 20th century that were actually started by small businesses. I'm not going to read these to you, from air conditioning to heat sensor, from helicopter to pre-stressed. We didn't take it all the way to Z. But what you can see from these slides is that what have become big innovations now really started as very little companies. Those that we highlighted in green were some that we felt may be of interest to you. We looked at your course offerings and so forth and said, gee, we can see some students here being pretty innovative and coming up with some great ideas. Several years ago, the Kaufman Foundation funded a panel study, and we wanted to look at what was going on with entrepreneurship, how many were trying to start businesses. It's a very lengthy study, but we pulled a few statistics for you. At any given time, there are about 10.1 million people that are trying to create a business. We know that men are more likely, twice as likely actually to be starting a new business than women. We know that African Americans are about 50% more likely to engage in startup activities than Caucasians. Of that 10.1 million, about 1.7 are in existence 4 years after they start their business. Of those, about 3,200 employ 100 or more employees. What's interesting to note about the statistics where we are in the college here is that there are many reasons why we jumped from 10.1 million down to 1.7. But one of them being education. One of the reasons that some of these businesses don't make it down here is because they lack the education to do so, as Guy was speaking to earlier. Again, that's one of the reasons we put a large emphasis on that at the foundation. All of you hear a lot about entrepreneurship, don't you? It's being talked about in schools, we read about it, we hear about it. We have a lot of downsizing, we have a lot of displaced workers. We have people who say we don't trust the corporate world so much anymore. We want to be our own boss. Many reasons for doing this. Students are demanding more entrepreneurship courses. When we look at colleges and universities around the country, many of their programs, their offerings and so forth are being student-driven. The students say, hey, we want entrepreneurship as an option and we need to learn.